The night on the alien world was silent. The moons hung above the sky like two silver eyes, watching every shadow below. Across the city of stone and steel, towers glowed with pale light, their sharp edges cutting against the darkness. The streets were empty, but silence did not mean safety. Moving between those shadows was an assassin. She was not ordinary. She was alien, trained since childhood to be invisible, patient, and merciless. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, scanning every corner. Her body armor clung to her like a second skin, built to silence even the smallest. Her orders were clear. Kill the human. She repeated those words in her mind like a mantra. The human had become a target of the Empire. No details were given about why he was dangerous, only that he must not live another night. For her, it did not matter. She never asked questions. She never needed to know. She only completed her mission. The palace guards had already failed too. Notice her presence. She moved like smoke, flowing past gates and walls without leaving a trace. Each step was measured, each breath controlled. This was not her first kill. She had ended lives of warlords, rebels, even traitors within her own people. To her, a human should be the simplest of tasks, yet something about this mission felt strange. She had studied her target's file. The human had no weapons, no army, no protection. He was alone. To her, it felt almost insulting, as though the Empire wasted her talents on a weak creature. Why send me for this? She whispered under her breath, her voice lost in the night. Still, she did not hesitate. Orders were orders. From a rooftop, she looked down at the human's dwelling. It was small and simple, unlike the grand alien homes around it. No guards stood outside. No traps glowed on the walls. It was too quiet, too open. Her instincts told her something was wrong, but she pushed the thought aside. She had killed in worse places, against enemies far stronger than this. A human could not outmatch her. She crouched low, her weapon sliding silently from its sheath. It was a blade of alien metal, designed to cut through armor like paper. The edge shimmered faintly in the moonlight, eager for blood. Her eyes narrowed. One strike, she thought. That is all it will take. With the grace of a shadow, she leaped from the rooftop. Her feet touched the ground without sound. She moved forward, her body low, her blade ready. Every step was perfect. A dance. She had practiced all her life. Finally, she reached the door. Her hand touched the surface, feeling no resistance. It was unlocked. Too easy. She slipped inside. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of alien lamps outside the window. The human was there. He sat in the middle of the small room, his back straight, his hands resting calmly on his knees. He was waiting. The assassin froze. Her breath caught for a second. He was not asleep. He was not unaware. His eyes were open, and they were looking directly at her. She gripped her blade tighter, her heart pounding. How had he known? She had moved like air, unseen and unheard. No one had ever noticed her before. The human did not move. His face was calm, his eyes steady, almost as if he had been expecting her. For the first time in her career, the assassin felt something she had never known before. Hesitation. Her orders screamed in her mind. Kill him. Do not wait. Finish it now. But her body did not move. The silence between them grew heavy. The human's calmness unsettled her. She had seen fear in the eyes of many targets. She had seen anger, rage, and desperation, but never calm. Never this. Quiet strength. He tilted his head slightly, his voice soft but clear. I knew you would come. Her heart jumped. His words echoed in her ears. How could he know? No one ever knew. No one ever spoke to her before the strike. She clenched her jaw, trying to steady her thoughts. He was just a human, she reminded herself. Fragile. Weak. Nothing more. And yet, as she stood frozen in the doorway, her blade ready, but her mind shaken, one thought crept into her heart. What if this human is not what he seems? The silent mission had only just begun. And already, it was no longer simple. The silence in the small room was heavy, almost alive. The alien assassin stood in the doorway, her blade raised, her breathing calm, but her heart restless. She had expected fear. She had expected the human to beg or run. But instead, he sat calmly in the dim light, his eyes steady, his face unreadable. "I knew you would come," he had said. The words repeated in her head like an echo. No target had ever spoken to her like that. Usually, they only saw her at the final moment, just before the strike. Yet this human was waiting as though he had expected her all along. Her grip tightened on the weapon. She took a slow step forward, her boots silent against the floor. "You should not know my face," she whispered, her voice low, almost threatening. "You should not know my presence." The human tilted his head slightly, studying her like one might study a storm cloud. And yet, he replied softly, "Here you are, and here I am." Neither of us surprised. Her jaw clenched. His calmness was unnatural. No one should be able to stand so still under the gaze of an assassin. Her training told her to end it quickly, to strike before doubt poisoned her hands. But some invisible force seemed to hold her blade in place. The assassin's eyes narrowed. "Do you not fear death?" he asked. The human's lips curved, not into a smile, but something faintly amused. "Death comes for everyone. But fear? Fear only comes to those who do not understand themselves." The words made her chest tighten. She was used to the begging of cowards, the curses of rebels, the proud last words of leaders. But this human's tone carried neither fear nor pride. It carried certainty. For the first time in her career, the assassin felt as though she was not the predator, but the prey. She took another step forward, circling him slowly. Her eyes scanned his form for weapons, for hidden devices, for any sign of danger, but he had none. His hands were empty. His clothes were simple. His body was unarmored. He was defenseless, and yet he did not look weak. Her blade gleamed in the pale light. She could end him with a single strike. The Empire had ordered his death, and still she hesitated. "You are human," she finally said. "Fragile, short-lived, weak compared to my kind. Why does the Empire fear you enough to send me?" The human's eyes flickered, almost like a shadow passed across them. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "because they know humans are not what they appear to be." The assassin frowned. His words were simple, but they unsettled her. She wanted to demand an answer, to press her blade against his throat and force him to explain. But his calm gaze rooted her in place. Behind his silence, there was something more. A weight she could not see, but could feel. Her instincts screamed at her. This was not an ordinary target. This was not an ordinary mission. The human leaned forward slightly, his voice steady. "You were trained to kill. To move in shadows, to strike without mercy. But tell me, were you trained to see?" Her brow furrowed. "See what?" "To see truth." The words slipped into the air like a whisper of thunder, soft but heavy. The assassin's fingers twitched against the hilt of her blade. She could end this conversation with a single move. And yet, she stood frozen, caught between her orders, and something far stronger, curiosity. She hated the feeling. Curiosity was weakness, and weakness was death. "Do not play games with me, human," she snapped, though her voice cracked slightly. "I came to kill you, that is all." The human nodded slowly. "Yes, that is what they told you to do. But if you kill me, Will you truly understand why you were sent? Her heart skipped a beat. For the first time, she wondered, why him? Why this one human? The Empire did not waste elite assassins on meaningless targets. And yet, his file had been empty, his history ordinary, his life unremarkable. Unless it was a lie. She took a step back, her blade still raised. You speak too much for a man about to die, she said coldly, but her words lacked the sharpness she wanted. The human's calm gaze did not leave hers, and you hesitate too much for a killer. Her breath caught. It was true. She should have struck by now. Her blade should already be wet with blood. But something about him, his eyes, his stillness. His words held her back. The room seemed smaller now, the air thicker. Every second stretched long, pulling her deeper into the unknown at last. She lowered her weapon slightly, though she did not sheath it. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Who are you? Really? The human leaned back, his expression unchanged. That, he said softly, is what you must decide for yourself. But know this. Killing me will not end your questions. It will only bury them deeper. The assassin's heart pounded. For the first time in her life, she felt uncertainty twisting inside her chest. Her mission was clear, yet her hands refused to obey. And in the silence that followed, she realized something dangerous. This was no simple mission. This was a test, and the human before her was not a victim. He was something else. Something the Empire feared. The assassin's hand trembled ever so slightly on the hilt of her blade. She hated that feeling. Hesitation was poison, and poison killed assassins faster than any blade. She had been trained her whole life to cut through doubt like air. But standing in front of this human, doubt had grown inside her like fire. Her instincts screamed to end it quickly, to silence him before his words tangled deeper into her mind. And yet, she did not strike. His calm eyes, still fixed on hers, refused to let her. She needed to regain control. She needed to shatter his calmness. You are only human, she said sharply, her voice dripping with contempt. Fragile bones. Soft skin, weak blood. A species. At the bottom of the galaxy's ladder, do you know how many worlds laugh at your kind? The human didn't flinch. His breathing remained slow, steady, like the rhythm of a calm sea. She narrowed her eyes, stepping closer, her words turning sharper. Your people live short lives. You break easily. You depend on machines you barely understand. My kind could end your race in a single war, and no one would even remember your name. The silence that followed should have been victory. Most targets would have broken by now, pleading, denying, raging. That was the pattern. But the human only tilted his head slightly, as though he was studying her rather than fearing her. His voice, when he finally spoke, was quiet but steady. And yet here you are, sent to kill one of us. The words cut deeper than she expected. She blinked, her jaw tightening. He was right. The Empire had not sent soldiers, not spies, not drones. They had sent her one of their best assassins. For what? A fragile human. Her lips curled into a bitter smile, trying to push away the sting of his truth. They sent me because I never fail. You were just unlucky enough to be chosen. But even to her own ears, the words sounded hollow. The human's gaze did not waver. No. They sent you because they are afraid. The assassin froze. For a heartbeat, her chest tightened. She forced out a laugh, sharp and mocking. Afraid? Afraid of you? That is the most foolish thing I have ever heard. But the human didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. His calmness was heavier now, pressing against her like a weight. If I were truly nothing, he said softly, they would not fear me. They would ignore me. Yet here you are, standing in my home, blade in hand. Her grip on the weapon tightened. She tried to sneer, tried to push him down with more words. Perhaps they sent me because they know you will break easily. Perhaps they wanted this to be simple. The human leaned forward slightly, his eyes piercing into hers. Then why do you hesitate? Her breath caught. The room seemed smaller, the air thicker. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came. It cut straight into her core, exposing what she fought desperately to hide. Her hesitation, she stepped back quickly, regaining her mask of arrogance. Do not think silence makes you strong, she hissed. It makes you pitiful. I could end you in a heartbeat. I could spill your blood before you even blink. The human's voice remained calm. Then do it. The words landed like thunder. Her chest rose and fell faster now. Her blade hovered inches from his throat. One strike, just one, would finish this. Her training screamed at her to obey, but she couldn't move. His eyes locked onto hers, and for the first time in her life, she felt as if she was the one being judged. His gaze wasn't angry, it wasn't mocking. It was steady, patient almost. Knowing not, her hands trembled again. Fury rose in her chest. She had to regain control, had to break him. She forced her voice into a sneer. You hide behind words. You pretend strength. But in truth, you are nothing more than a fragile animal waiting for the knife. The human finally stood, slowly, calmly, without rushing. His full height was not impressive compared to hers, but the way he carried himself made the air shift. He stepped closer, and for the first time, she felt herself move back. His voice was calm but sharp, like a blade hidden in velvet. And yet, this fragile animal makes the galaxy nervous. Nervous enough to send you. The assassin's mouth went dry. Every insult she wanted to hurl died in her throat. His calmness was not weakness, it was control. She realized, with growing unease, that she was no longer mocking him to belittle him. She was mocking him to convince herself. The silence stretched long, broken only by the faint hum of the city outside. Finally, she forced herself to speak again, but her voice was quieter now, almost desperate. You are nothing, aren't you? The human's eyes softened, and his reply was almost a whisper. That is what they want you to believe. Her breath shook. Something inside her cracked, not fear, not rage, but doubt. And for an assassin, doubt was the most dangerous enemy of all. She lowered her blade just slightly, enough to show the war inside her. For the first time, she realized the truth. This mission would not be simple. The human had not fought her, had not even raised a hand. Yet already, she felt as though he was winning. Asterisk. The assassin's chest rose and fell, her breath uneven, though she tried to steady it. Her blade was still in her hand, but her confidence was slipping. The human's calm words echoed in her ears, refusing to leave. That is what they want. You too believe. The Empire's orders had been simple. Kill him. They had given her no reason, no warning, no explanation. But now, standing face to face with him, she felt something that made her training falter curiosity. She stepped back slowly, narrowing her eyes. What are you hiding, human? She demanded. He did not move. His voice was calm. Nothing. You cannot see if you choose to look. The assassin's jaw tightened. His riddles infuriated her, but they also pulled her deeper. She glanced around the small room for the first time. It was simple, yes, but not ordinary. Along the walls, faint carvings glowed softly. They looked like patterns, almost like language, though not one she recognized. They pulsed gently, in rhythm with something. Alive. Her eyes sharpened. This is not human design, she whispered. The human's lips curved faintly. No, it is older. She stepped closer to the carvings, her blade still raised. The lines seemed to shift under her gaze, bending and reshaping themselves as if alive. The glow was faint, but steady, like the heartbeat of the room itself. "What is this?" she demanded. The human's voice was quiet but firm. "It is truth. And truth cannot be killed with a blade." Her chest tightened again. She turned sharply, pointing her weapon at him. "Do not play games with me. Tell me what this is. Tell me why the Empire fears you." His eyes met hers, steady and unblinking. "Because I know what they have forgotten." Her brows furrowed. "Forgotten?" He nodded slowly. "Long before your empire, long before your people reached the stars, something else moved through this galaxy. Something old, something powerful, and humans. We are their echo." The assassin's pulse quickened. His words sounded like madness, yet the carvings on the walls, the steady glow, whispered otherwise. "You lie," she hissed, though her voice lacked conviction. "Do I?" he asked softly. He raised his hand, palm open, and gestured to the wall. The carvings brightened at his movement, glowing like fire catching wind. The assassin's eyes widened. Her grip on the blade trembled. He had no technology, no devices, no implants yet. The symbols obeyed him like loyal servants. Her throat went dry. How are you doing this?" The human stepped closer, his calmness unshaken. "Humans are more than flesh and bone. We carry something the Empire cannot understand, something they fear." Her heart pounded in her chest. Every lesson, every word drilled into her since she was a child told her humans were weak, unworthy, insignificant. Yet here he was, standing before her, bending alien symbols with nothing but his presence. "No," she whispered. "This is not possible." The human tilted his head, his gaze piercing into hers. "And yet you see it." The assassin stumbled. Back a step, her blade still raised, but her certainty gone. She shook her head violently, trying to cast away the doubt clawing at her mind. "This changes nothing. You are still human. You bleed, you die, and I will finish this mission." But her voice cracked, betraying her. The human looked at her quietly for a long moment. Then he spoke, his tone steady. "You will not kill me. Not because you cannot, but because you now know why they sent you. Not to end me, but to silence what I am." Her hands trembled. His words cut deep because, in her heart, she knew they were true. The Empire never wasted its best assassin on meaningless prey. If they feared him enough to send her, then he was not ordinary. She clenched her teeth, trying to push the thought away. "You are manipulating me," she spat. "This is all a trick." The human stepped back, giving her space. He spread his hands, showing he carried no weapon. "Then strike. Kill me now. End your doubts." Her blade hovered in the air. Her training screamed at her, "Strike. Strike now." But her body refused. Her eyes flickered back to the glowing carvings, to the symbols that seemed to breathe with him. Her voice shook as she whispered, "What are you?" The human's eyes softened. A reminder that humans are not weak, that your empire is not eternal, and that even the smallest creature can carry the oldest fire. Her chest tightened painfully. The weight of his words pressed against her, heavier than armor. She lowered her blade slightly, her mind spinning. The mission was clear. When she began, kill the human. But now, nothing was clear. For the first time in her life, she did not know if she could finish the job. For the first time, she wondered if the Empire had been lying all along. The carvings pulsed again, as though answering her unspoken thoughts. And, in that moment, the assassin realized something terrifying. This mission was not about killing. It was about testing whether she could see the truth, and she was no longer certain which side she stood on. The assassin's blade trembled slightly in her grip. She hated it. Her whole life she had been trained never to show weakness, never to allow doubt into her hands. Yet here she was, staring at a human who stood unarmed, and she could not bring herself to strike. The glowing carvings along the wall pulsed gently, as if alive, answering to his very presence. The faint golden light painted the room in a strange, otherworldly glow. She wanted to call it a trick, but her sharp eyes, trained to spot illusions, saw no machines, no hidden devices. This was real. Her voice was sharp, but shaky. Enough. Riddles? Tell me what you are. Tell me why the Empire fears you. The human looked at her quietly for a long moment, as though weighing whether to answer. Finally, his calm voice filled the silence. They fear me, he said softly, because I remember what they want forgotten. The assassin frowned. Remember? What does that mean? He turned slowly, gesturing toward the glowing walls. The carvings brightened, their shapes twisting into forms she could almost recognize: circles, lines, constellations. It was like a map, but older than anything she had seen in the Empire's records. This, he said, is the memory of the first travelers. Long before your empire rose, long before your people claimed the stars, others walked here. They left behind knowledge, waiting for someone who could hear it. Her breath quickened. She stepped closer, her eyes wide. This is older than the Empire. The human nodded. Older than your history, older than even mine. And yet, humanity carries something of them inside us. A spark. A pattern written into our very being. The assassin shook her head violently, trying to reject the thought. Impossible. Humans are fragile, weak, unremarkable. I've been taught this since childhood. The human's gaze deepened, steady and calm. And yet here you are, blade in hand, afraid to strike. Her chest tightened. She opened her mouth to argue, but found no words. The human stepped closer. To the wall. His hand hovered above the glowing carvings, and at once the lines flared brighter, spilling golden light into the room. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming new shapes. A hum filled the air, low and powerful. Like the heartbeat of the earth itself. The assassin staggered back a step, her blade still raised, but her mind unraveling. What? What is this? He turned to her, the light reflecting in his eyes. The Empire hides its fear behind lies. They call us weak, insignificant, but humans are not what they say. We are connected to what came before, and that connection frightens them. The assassin's throat went dry. Her training screamed at her to silence him, to finish the mission before his words broke her further. But something deeper pulled her to listen. You speak of legends, she said bitterly. Fairy tales. My people do not bow to myths. The human's voice was steady, nor do mine. But myths do not make walls glow. Myths do not answer to my presence. The symbols pulsed again, brighter now, bathing the room in golden light. The assassin's breath caught. She could feel it, something ancient, powerful, alive. The air itself vibrated with a quiet energy that sent chills down her spine. Her eyes locked on him, fear creeping into her voice. You are not normal. The human's lips curved faintly. No human is normal. That is what they fear. Not me alone, but all of us. Because if one human can awaken the past, then all humans carry that possibility. Her heart pounded. She shook her head, refusing to believe. If this is true, then why have I never heard of it? Why has no one seen this power before? His eyes softened, because most never look. Most bow to crowns, to empires, to voices louder than their own hearts. But those who refuse to kneel, they see, they remember. The assassin's grip weakened on her blade. His words cut too close to what she had seen with her own eyes. She wanted to deny him, to strike him down, but the room itself betrayed her disbelief. The walls glowed brighter with every word he spoke, as though the truth itself was alive and refusing to be silenced. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And the Empire?" "They know," he replied. His eyes hardened slightly now, the calm replaced by quiet fire. "They know what we are capable of, and that is why they fear us. That is why they sent you to erase a truth before it spreads." The assassin's knees felt weak. For years she had believed the Empire's words, that humans were weak, disposable, unworthy of respect. Yet here she stood, faced with a man who had done nothing but stand and speak, and already he had broken her certainty. The human stepped closer, slowly, carefully. He did not raise a weapon. He did not threaten. He only stood close enough for her to see the calm in his eyes. "You came to kill me," he said softly, "but you cannot kill what I am. And if you strike me down, another will rise. Because the truth cannot be destroyed by a blade." The assassin's chest rose and fell quickly, her breath sharp. She wanted to scream, to deny him, to silence his voice. But the fire in his eyes and the golden glow around them told her what. Her pride refused to accept. He was right. For the first time in her life, she felt powerless. Not because she lacked strength, but because she no longer knew who the enemy truly was. Her mission had collapsed. Her loyalty wavered, and deep inside her heart, a question grew stronger than the orders burned into her mind. What if the Empire is wrong? The human's final words for the night lingered like thunder. "You came here as an assassin, but you will not leave the same way." The room still glowed with the faint golden light of the carvings. The human had stepped back, calm as ever, while the assassin stood frozen, her blade trembling in her grip. For the first time in her life, she felt trapped, not by walls or enemies, but by her own mind. Her orders were clear. She was to kill him. The Empire had chosen her because she never failed. She had ended the lives of generals, rebels, traitors. Her record was flawless. And yet, here she stood, unable to strike down a single unarmed human. Her breathing grew sharp. She clenched her teeth. "This is weakness," she told herself. "This is failure." But another voice whispered inside her, one she did not recognize. Or perhaps, this is truth. The assassin shook her head, desperate to silence the thought. She had been trained from childhood to bury doubts. Doubt was betrayal. Doubt was death. And yet, the memory of the walls glowing, the symbols shifting, at his presence burned into her mind. She could not unsee it. Her blade lowered slightly. Her voice cracked with frustration. You are manipulating me." The human's voice was calm. "No, you are fighting yourself. You want to believe what they taught you, but your eyes tell you otherwise." His words struck deeper than steel. She hated how true they felt. The assassin took a step back, her eyes darting around the room. Her training screamed at her to finish the mission. But her instincts, the same instincts that had kept her alive on 100 missions, told her this man was not a target. He was something more. Her chest tightened painfully. "If what you say is true," she whispered, "then my whole life has been a lie." The human studied her quietly, then spoke softly. "Not a lie, a cage. They gave you a small world to keep you blind to the larger one." Her grip weakened on the blade. She hated his words because they resonated. She had always thought the Empire was absolute, unshakable. Yet in her heart, she remembered moments when she had questioned it, missions that felt unnecessary, deaths. That felt empty. She had buried those doubts under loyalty. Now his words ripped them open. Her voice broke. Why me? Why send me to kill you? Why not an army? The human's eyes softened. Because armies cannot be trusted with secrets. But an assassin. You are trained to obey. You kill without questions. They thought you would finish me quickly, without hesitation. Her throat tightened. And if I fail, then they will. Send another and another, until the truth is silenced. Unless, his gaze pierced into hers. Unless you choose differently. Her breath caught. She lowered her blade fully now, though she did not release it. The weight of choice pressed. Down on her shoulders, she had never been given a choice before. She had always been told what to do, where to go, who to kill, and now, for the first time, the path was not clear. She turned away, pacing across the small room. The golden carvings followed her, pulsing faintly, as if alive. She felt their warmth. Against her skin, a reminder of the revelation she could not deny. Her voice rose, filled with anger and confusion. If I choose to believe you, I betray the Empire. I betray my people. Everything I have sworn to protect will be lost. Human's reply was calm, almost gentle. And if you choose to obey them, you betray yourself. You betray the truth standing before you. She clenched her fists, her blade trembling again. The war inside her grew louder. Her training told her the human was a liar, a trickster, a danger to the Empire. But her instincts told her he was the key to something greater, something her people had been blind to for centuries. The assassin pressed her free hand against her chest, feeling her heartbeat race. She had never felt so divided. She could kill him now and walk away, her record flawless, her loyalty intact. Or she could lower her blade and step into a truth that terrified her. Her eyes lifted, meeting his. If I walk away from this mission, she said hoarsely, the Empire will hunt me. They will call me a traitor. The human nodded slowly. Yes, they will. Because nothing frightens them more than those who refuse to obey. Her breath shook. And if I kill you? He stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. Then you will. Never silence the truth. You will only bury it deeper. But it will rise again in another human, in another time. You cannot kill what was meant to endure. The assassin's knees felt weak. For the first time in her life, she was not an assassin on a mission. She was a woman standing before a choice. She lowered her blade further until the tip touched the floor. Her voice cracked. I don't know who I am anymore. The human's gaze softened with quiet understanding. Then perhaps this is the first time you truly live. Not as a weapon, not as their tool, but as yourself. The words struck her like lightning. All her life, she had been a blade in someone else's hand. But now, for the first time, she realized she could decide her own fate. Her blade slipped from her grasp and clattered against the floor. The sound echoed in the glowing room like a declaration. The assassin stood trembling, but her eyes cleared. She had not chosen fully yet. But she had taken the first step, the step away from blind obedience. The human gave a faint nod, as though he had been waiting for this moment. You have seen, he said softly. Now you must decide. And for the first time in her life, the assassin realized the most dangerous mission was not killing another. It was facing the truth inside herself. The room was quiet, bathed in the golden glow of the carvings. The assassin stood trembling, her blade lying forgotten on the floor. For the first time in her life, she was unarmed not because she had been disarmed, but because she had let go. Her hands shook, not from fear of the human before her, but from the storm inside her chest. She had always known who she was, an assassin, loyal to the Empire. a weapon that never questioned orders. But now, everything felt uncertain. The human watched her calmly, his expression neither triumphant nor mocking. He simply stood there, as though he had expected this moment all along. "You have seen," he said softly. "Now you must decide." The assassin turned her eyes to the glowing walls, to the symbols that pulsed with life, then back to him. Throat tightened. "If I walk away from this mission, I will lose everything. My home, my honor, my people." His gaze was steady. "If you kill me, you will lose yourself." The words struck like a blade sharper than her own. Her chest ached with the weight of the truth. She pressed her hands against her temples, shaking her head. "Why me? Why must I be the one to carry this choice?" The human's voice was calm. But there was strength in it, because only those who stand at the edge of obedience can see the path beyond it. You were chosen because they trusted your loyalty. But the truth chose you because it saw your doubt. Her breath caught. Doubt. A word she had been taught to despise, now revealed as her greatest strength. She sank to her knees, her eyes burning. "I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. The human stepped closer, crouching slightly so their eyes met. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. "Then perhaps this is the first time you are truly alive. You are no longer their blade. You are no longer their shadow. You are free." Her heart pounded. Freedom. The word felt terrifying and intoxicating. She had never chosen anything for herself. Not her training, not her missions, not her loyalties. And now, for the first time, choice lay in her trembling hands. Silence hung between them for a long moment. Then the human stood, his gaze turning toward the glowing walls. The Empire fears humans because we remind them of what they cannot. Control. We are fragile. Yes. We are short-lived. Yes. But inside us burns a fire that no cage can contain. They see it as a threat. You see it now as truth. The assassin lifted her eyes to him. "And what do you want me to do with this truth?" He looked back at her, his face calm but his eyes fierce. "Carry it. Remember it. Live by it. Whether you remain their assassin or walk away, never again. Let them blind you. You have seen that cannot be undone." Her lips trembled. She wanted to ask more, wanted to demand what he truly was, how he commanded the carvings, how one human could carry such power. But deep inside, she knew the answer. Didn't matter. What mattered was what she chose to believe. At last, she rose to her feet. Her blade lay on the floor, but she did not reach for it. Instead, she took a deep breath, steadying herself. Her voice, though soft, was firm. "I will not kill you." The human nodded slightly, as though he had always known. "That is your choice, and with it, you are no longer their weapon." Strange calm filled her chest. Fear lingered. Yes, fear of the Empire. Fear of what would happen when they learned she had failed. But beneath it was something stronger. Freedom. The human turned toward the door, the glow of the walls dimming as he stepped away. The light faded until only the faint moonlight filled the room. She called out after him, her voice trembling. "What happens now?" He paused, his silhouette framed by the doorway. "Now the Empire will send others. They will hunt me, and perhaps they will hunt you. But remember, these humans do not endure because of strength or power. We endure because we refuse to be broken. That is what they fear most." Her breath caught at his words. Refuse to be broken. When he stepped outside, the silence felt heavier than before. The carvings had dimmed, but their memory still glowed in her heart. She stood alone, staring at her fallen blade. It was no longer her master. It was no longer her identity. She realized then that her mission had ended, but her story had just begun, For the first time in her life, she had chosen not to obey, not to kill, not to be a shadow. And though fear clawed at her, another feeling grew stronger, something she had never known before. Hope, as the night air drifted through the open door. The assassin whispered to herself, "Humans are not weak." The words tasted strange on her tongue, but they felt true. And somewhere in the darkness, the human walked on, carrying the fire that empires feared, leaving behind not death, but a spark that would change her forever.